Welcome back to AM Northwest. As summer starts to wind down, our next guest is here with a colorful art project to keep the spirit of summer alive. We welcome back artist, educator, and author of several books, including Peggy Dean's Guide to Nature Drawing and Watercolor. Peggy Dean, great to see you again. Oh my goodness. Okay, these popsicles are adorable.
They're fun.
This is a watercolor that you can teach us how to make.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it makes you want to smile.
It makes you want to smile. It
Yeah.
makes summer want to go on forever. It makes you want to have one right now.
Yeah, I do. I think that's so pretty.
Super easy, because one of my favorite things about watercolor is working with what's called a wet on wet effect,
Right.
and also like loosely. I'm really not into, and I know some people love to sketch ahead of time and they prepare.
Yeah, this involves no sketching.
I just like to jump in.
Yeah.
You know, and like, let's see what we can make with it.
Okay. I just wanted to show that to folks. Okay, we'll put this down. Okay.
It's so much fun. So what we're gonna do, you can start this in two ways. You can do it with just water at first, or you can use a little bit of color on your brush and get the shape in. That does help to start, especially if you're learning, because what you're gonna wanna do is get an even sheen. So nothing puddly, but an even sheen on the page in the shape that
you're
gonna
using
wanna.
this really thick watercolor paper.
Yeah, as long as you're using watercolor paper and it says watercolor paper on it, that's what you want, because when you do a wet on wet or like any sort of water wash, you're gonna want the paper to be able to withstand that without like warping or pilling up. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is get water on my brush, and then I'm going to go in, what color do I wanna do? Let's do this bright pink. So I'm not gonna get a ton of pigment. So basically I have more water than pigment. And that's because I just want the wash, and then I can choose where to drop pigment in later.
Okay.
So essentially I'm just doing like a little C curve at the top, and then just painting a straight line down and down. And so just a typical popsicle shape, but you can see how really what I'm focusing on, I'm really only using color so you guys like can see it really well.
Okay.
But it's really gonna disappear, because what we're gonna do is add the colors that we want. So once that's down, I kind of take the paper and move it so I can really see where the sheen is and make sure it's all even.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Because some areas might dry faster than others, and then that way we can just make sure it's all even, so that when we do drop in color, it bleeds. So let's say I wanted to grab like a yellow, and then I can drop that into just the bottom here, and then tap it on up, and then it's gonna start to do that flow.
Okay, I'm gonna try the same yellow you are. Okay.
And then just kind of tap into the bottom.
Tap into the bottom.
And see how it just starts to go upwards?
Oh yeah, look at that.
And it's gonna continue doing that even after we let it go, because all of that sheen is there.
Right.
And then I'm gonna do the same thing with the pink that we chose at the top. Now I will say not all pigment is created equally, so some will bleed further than others, like they'll bleed down, but the cool thing about doing popsicles is that that transparency is kind of part of it, you know?
Okay.
So this is what I do, and then I will let this dry like halfway, which happens pretty quickly. And then what I do is I go in and I grab that same pigment again, because what happens is when it starts to drag toward the middle, some of that pigment is getting less and less because it's spreading. And so when you drop in additional pigment just at the bottom, it just kind of adds that pop, that juiciness.
Oh,
you know?
Sure. Yeah, I see that.
And so if you can kind of carry it up the side a little bit, but then keeping that middle, letting it have that nice blend is what makes it look
fade.
Delicious.
Yes.
So then what I'll do is you can do one of two things. You can either let it dry completely and then add those two lines that kind of add that defining part of the popsicle, like, you know, where it looks like it has that mold, or you can go in and do it now and it's like a softer fade. So I like to do both ways sometimes, but some will really like to do the popsicle stick before it's dry, because I'll go ahead and grab just like a neutral tone.
Okay.
I love when the wet on wet bleeds together. So doing something before it's time, it just kind of adds this like whimsy to it.
Okay,
so
I'm watching you do the
it'll start to
one
just
stick.
Yeah, just one stick, and then it'll start to bleed together, and it just creates like personality. Now, of course, that's not necessary. In the example, I didn't do that, but as I was doing it, I thought, gosh, you know, I kind of want them to go and blend together. That's what I do with flowers. When I paint flowers and the stems go into it, it just creates a really pretty bleed.
Now show me how you do the crevices that show the mold, as you mentioned.
So you can wait for it to fully dry, and this, we're not there yet, but it's okay. So I'm just gonna go and grab more of the pigment. It could be a yellow, an orange, a pink, a red, but when it's still wet, I just do less of a stroke. So I'm not gonna put the full pressure on the brush. I'm just gonna come up like this. And that is going to, I just do 2 lines, and that will start to bleed. And it looks really nice when it starts to bleed, and that's really all you have to do.
That's all you have to do, wow.
And then just wait a minute. But then, if you wanted to define it more later, what will happen is once it's dry, you're gonna do that exact same thing with a little less pigment. And
I see.
Then it will define.
Yeah,
Isn't
that's
it cute
very fun
and easy?
Playing with watercolors is challenging for me, but I like it.
I mean, it worked out really well, though. Yours is lovely.
I think it's coming across. I mean, works. You think it's a popsicle, right?
I think it's a popsicle. I'm ready for it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Again, Peggy's book is Nature Drawing Watercolor. Thank you so much, Peggy. Great to see you again.
You too.
All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away. Very fun.